Hopefully it's better this time. Hey, Opulent Salor. Hi, Nas. Tell me if it's better now. Good, it's better. Great. No lag. All right, great. I'm glad. All right, no lag. They already said it's going well, so that's good.
Oh, that's so nice.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to introduce Spike again. So Spike is a customer experience strategy firm. We work with companies to improve their operations to ultimately create happy clients so they can grow. That's us in a gist. A lot of you have been here with us for a while, and I really appreciate it. We recently went just over 500 followers. So thank you all for being here with us. Thank you for joining the community. You can look out for more stuff from us in the very near future. Just keep in mind the dates, June 19, 2020. Write it in your calendar. Be happy about the date. Get excited. Okay. This evening we are very fortunate to have Stephanie with us. I am so excited to have her here. You would have seen the poster. We shared it all around. It's on our page right now. I found Stephanie on Twitter, and unfortunately I lost my Twitter password, but I recently created a new account so I could keep up with everything that's happening over there. So thank God for Twitter. How many of you read the caption? I know a lot of you did because I got a few messages. So I think you guys are also excited to have Stephanie with us this evening. Remember that there is a question box at the bottom. So feel free to send your questions there so we can answer them as we go along. So I just want to welcome you, Stephanie, to our Spike Chat this evening. I'm so happy to have you. Stephanie has an illustrious career to me. she she has worked with the federal government. She's named top 50, one of the top 50 thought leaders. She has been bold and brave and out there as a woman in the customer experience industry, and I'm so happy that we are able to catch up with her this evening. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction. And I think that it's just a matter of continuing to be bold until someone says stop, but just still keep going anyway. So
yes, and Stephanie is the founder of Practical CX. Her website is very informative. I checked out a lot of her blogs there, so I invite you to go and check it out as well. So our topic this evening is does the customer experience beat the price? But before I do that, I want to know if Stephanie has anything you want to tell us more about yourself before we begin.
I think some people like to know, just getting started, what brought me to this field. And understanding a little bit about that might help to understand my.
Go ahead.
I am an old school journalist from way back in the day. So my background is in journalism, print and broadcast journalism. I have an undergraduate degree in radio and television, and I focused on news during my entire time. And my career eventually took me into business development. And so one of the things that I realized as I was sort of evolving in my early career is that every customer has a story, and every business wants to do well. And there's a happy place in between. And we all depend on commerce in our professional lives, in our personal lives. So we need to find that happy place, but it isn't just something that magically happens, right? It has to be right. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this profession that we're in and the discipline of customer experience as a business discipline, because it helps us find that middle ground between what customers are looking for to fill their story and what commerce is looking for to be successful in our society.
Right.
From when I think about this, I think about it on a business level. and the things that are good for business. So that's just a little bit of background about where I'm coming from when I share the things that I share, because sometimes they're not exactly like you mentioned a moment ago about being bold. Sometimes people look at me like I have a third eye when I say it. But then in a couple of years, it winds up coming to fruition. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yes. I'm so happy you shared that with us, because, all of us are coming at it from different angles. And when we get to see, what brought someone else to the field, we can look at things with fresh eyes again and have a whole new perspective. So I really appreciate that. One of your ethos, I guess, was focus on what you can do. And I think that's very important, especially for our community members who may have smaller businesses and feel like, everything is overwhelming, especially when they start to hear about the data and collecting the data, analyzing the data, and, a lot of software that's available that they may not be able to afford yet. But the reality is that you start with what you have. Yes. And you continue to build on it. So that's really important. And I appreciated that.
You're so right. I find that to be the case in government too. Not just but in government, where they're battling so many policy issues and resource issues, focusing on the things that you can do, especially when it seems like you can't do so much, that will at least get you to the next.
Yes, you're so right. So we're going to go into our topic. Our topic today is, does experience beat price? And many of you who have been on our lives before would have heard me say things like, experience is going to beat price. And we have, with everything, there are certain caveats. There are areas where different things might apply. So we wanted to talk more about that today. If you look on Stephanie's Instagram page, she has a photo there, which I saved, but I can't seem to pull it up on the live. It was, what was it? It was saying, it was something like, you can't afford the price, okay, buy, or something like that.
Yeah, it was a meme, and
yes.
Sort of kneeling down and pointing toward a door, saying something to the effect of, "Oh, so our competitor has a better price? Well, off you go then." Kind of, hey, if you don't want to spend the money here, we're not going to lower our price. Go ahead.
Right. So we wanted to explore that a bit, and I encourage you all to send your questions or leave your comments. You normally have some great comments that we are able to share, and it helps the conversation go along. So I encourage you to do that today, as usual. So I did my own digging as usual to just see what the general thoughts on the topic are. And in the customer experience world, most people say yes, the experience be the price. And yes, there is data to back it. And I've seen it happen for myself. But at the same token, I know that that is not the case for every industry or every field. What has your experience been?
Well, I love that we're going to share notes on this, because I dug in and I looked at your background too. And so I wonder what your perspective is. So I came to the B world in public accounting and legal. And in public accounting and legal, experience trumps price, because those are deeply embedded relationships that are in place. And when relationships are in place, experience is going to typically going to trump price. Like you said, though, there are no cookie cutter approaches. There's no one universally accepted answer. There's no one right answer. It's up to the customer to decide what's most important to them at the time that they're ready to make a purchasing decision. But what I think is really interesting about this question, as I thought about it in the current context that we're living in, the world that we're living in, is it's so complicated now when we think about this. What experience actually means to people, because we think about it sometimes like product, price, and service. But now it's about clean, contactless, inclusive experiences and privacy-centric experiences. So what are you getting when you make a purchase based on experience? They're all the
Right. So I agree with you. What we thought about originally when we think about the experience might will shift from time to time in my experience or from industry to industry, and it is up to us to keep up with what is new for the customer now. What is it that they're looking for? I mean, there are some core things that will always remain the same, but you have to keep the lines of communication open. You have to keep listening and observing your customers so that you can keep up with their new needs. Because yes, there are things that remain the same now in the pandemic, but there are lots of things that have changed. And if we don't change along with it, the experience that was working for you yesterday might not work for you today.
I agree. Inertia is a killer. It's always
Yes. And another thing I noticed is that there are industries that, it's sometimes based on the location, the industry and the location of the business. People are really just focused on the price because they don't necessarily see the service or product that's being offered in this space as something that they need to care about the experience. They just want it and do it, and that's it. So you have to understand your industry, I think. But in my mind, though, even though that might be the case right now, I still believe that you have to set yourself apart somehow. So even if price is still the driving force, I do think that if you were to offer a better experience, you could bring a change to your industry. And you could also give yourself a little edge. However, I would be careful about my spending if that is the reality behind my situation. What do you think?
yes. I think even when I was in B2B, there were always conversations that came up, even with those deeply embedded relationships between clients and their lawyers or clients and their accountants, where they said, "This is just too much. I need you to do with respect to the price." And it did sometimes send their back to the drawing board to try to find ways to reduce the rates or cut back on the hours that would need to be spent. But I think that there are definitely differences in the sectors. And correct me if I'm wrong, don't you also come from like hospitality and education? So
I do.
what do you think about the mindset in those sectors?
I mean, here is the reality to me, especially with hospitality. You definitely have different tiers. So you have different tiers of travel options, and within your travel options, that's where your direct competition may be. So even though the price is similar right there, the experience is what's going to help you, especially in tourism, because people want to get the most for their money when they're on a vacation. So if you are able to let me feel like I am actually on a vacation, I feel special, I feel like I'm relaxing, you're respectful, and all your processes are lined up to make it easy for me to do what I need to do, then I'm going to choose you. So I think in my experience in the hospitality sphere, the experience is going to be the price, because within your sector, since the prices are so close. So that's it for me, and I think generally people understand that for the you will have to spend more money to get more of everything. So it just depends on your targets and you providing the best experience within your realm of operations.
Do you think that ease is a universal kind of experience that customers are looking for regardless? I mean, even if you get a great price, do you? I don't want to put words in. It just occurs to me that no matter what, it always seems like even if the price is good or great or steal, the ease either being there or not being there will send someone either to you or away from you.
I totally agree, because we live in a world now where everything is access to everything is right at our fingertips. So if you are going to require me to take extra steps, you're automatically out of the running. I am going to go with what's there, what's easy, what I can understand, what's intuitive. So, and this to me transcends all industries too, because everything is right there. So you cannot remain distant or requiring your customer to do a lot of, to have to go through a lot of steps to work with you. You are creating barriers, and I don't have time for those barriers. So I agree with that. We have some comments coming in. One Shanique is saying in hospitality business is dependent on experience. Tiana is saying in hospitality there is always that option to upsell or upgrade. The price may be good, however, you still do not get value for money. Yes, if I have a poor experience, even if you have a cheaper price, I'll find someone else. That's for Brittany. And yes, I agree because I mean, especially if we're talking about within your direct market, the prices now are the difference is minuscule, if any at all, in that setting. So make it easy, make it easy, make it easy, and give me a good experience.
Absolutely.
Brittany is saying she told me about a bad experience she had with shipping, and she won't be supporting that business again.
Oh,
Yes, because we have options. We have options.
So I would love if she's able to more on that, because I think this speaks to, if you can have a great experience buying something, but then if it gets messed up in shipping, then the whole strategy is wrong for a company, or it's just misaligned.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I was reading an article from Gary Anderson today, and he was talking about following up. So even if the purchasing part was easy for me to do, if I am having a shipping issue, you need to follow up even after I have received the item, so that I can express whatever I have to express. You can redeem yourself however you see fit, but keep the lines of communication open so people don't feel like you're left hanging. Because as we both know, the experience doesn't end with the product being or service being delivered. Right. It doesn't end there. And if our goal is to create these relationships to cause our customers to continue coming back to us or thinking about us first and having the experience really lift our offering, we have to keep doing things like that. We have to follow up. We have to stay in touch.
It doesn't just magically happen. And I love this point that you're making, because it is work. Customer experience is not something that just magically happens.
No. And I totally agree. Brittany is saying the product was easy to buy, but there was lack of communication regarding delays in shipping, no follow up or apology. That was poor for me. Shanique is saying people have so many options nowadays, so there has to be more than price.
Yeah. So think about this from a strategic perspective, and something that a lot of people can identify with is the Uber app. It can be so easy to order a ride, but what happens if the car doesn't show up?
Yes.
About that technology alone that a customer used, you got to, from a business perspective, you have to think about the outcome that the customer is looking for, and the outcome for is not that your product arrived late or that it was damaged in shipping. They want to solve their problem with that. So you've just completely obliterated any opportunity to help that customer solve their problem, because your strategy is not aligned across the organization. And it's not tech. It's not only about the tech that you're using. You can give your buyers a really great opportunity to use an awesome app. It's beautiful, it works fast, the order goes through, but if it doesn't show up or it shows up damaged, then what is the actual experience you wind up giving?
Exactly, and I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of companies I encounter tend to think of the customer experience as, you're within this department, you're within this sphere, and we just need to leave you over there. But everything will be ineffective if we continue thinking about things that way. We have to follow through. It has to come all from the top to the bottom, all the way through, all the
Right.
way through. We have a comment that I think you might be interested in. Yes. Shani's saying she doesn't like automated follow up either. She likes real time communication.
Yeah, okay, so I've got an opinion on this. I agree with this, and I think that it's important for companies to really think about it now, because with so much of our lives moving online, customers want that human connection, and all the automation and all of the impersonal stuff that goes on. Businesses seem to love that. The bots, the automated replies, they love that because it gives them efficiency. But customers continue to say, your bot doesn't work. I don't like your automation. And we continue to have this disparity between customers and business. And
I totally agree with you. I'll have to tell you something that I just saw on Twitter, like just before I came on live. Hi, Rudolph. Are you a TV personality, a Jamaican TV personality, was complaining about her Wi-Fi. She was saying today was not a good internet day. And here comes a Verizon bot responding to her tweets saying, oh, we're so sorry about that. So no, there's a whole thread. Verizon isn't in Jamaica. Verizon isn't our provider. So they're wondering, how did the Verizon bot pick up this tweet? Why are they responding? Is it that they always have, are people always complaining about their Wi-Fi going bad? Like it's hilarious. But that's what I saw on Twitter just before coming here.
oh my goodness.
And you mentioned Uber. So I have two experiences. I used an Uber. On Uber, you can select the type of car. I guess they have classes or whatnot. So I selected what I needed. When the car came, it was pretty old and dirty, and all the lights in the dashboard suggesting that something was wrong with the car were on. All of them were on. So it was pretty late, and I was coming from the airport. So I was like, I can't, I need to get home. Yeah. I took the car, I was afraid and alert the entire time, and I got home, right? Of course, after you pay, they allow you to give your reviews. So I gave my review and I mentioned that, this car is really unsafe and you guys need to take some care in ensuring that what is reflected on your app is what comes in front of me. I didn't get a response at all. Whereas I was in Atlanta, and I was going to the airport again, and I called a car, and the car came, and the gentleman decided that when I was in the car, he needed to stop at the gas station. Now, mind you, I am trying to catch my flight. So when I put it in for my review, Lyft gave me a complete refund for the ride plus a credit for another ride. So of course I use Lyft all the time, no, instead of Uber. And Uber could have done better because all they needed to do was at least respond, show that you care that I got home safe and sound, even though your service person was provided less than safe ride. So I think they need to really think about these things, just as you're saying. You can't just have an efficient app and everything else is falling apart.
You're always communicating, right? In customer experience and as a business, you are always communicating. So it makes me think, what was the message that you got from Uber versus the message you got from Lyft? I'm sitting here, I'm listening to your thinking, he needs to feel comfortable when she's in this car with someone that he doesn't know and doesn't know. All AAA if they do have a break. And so they tried into your heart and mind. They tried to follow your live stream in that difference. Lyft, it seems like to me, if I'm assessing based on your story, they're trying to feel what you're feeling and then trying to truly make it right. Whereas the other is like, oh, tough noogies, just tough.
Right. Right, and even though I didn't get a call from Lyft, even though it was all through email, I felt like I was talking to someone. I felt like someone acknowledged my issue and they cared about it and they had the same concerns as me. So I quite agree with you.
I agree with fruitful souvenirs.
Yeah, the car should not be on the road. Well, we will never know what happened to that car, right? We will never know.
We don't want to
Cara,
know.
yeah, we don't want to know. Cara said, "Lift empathize with the customer." Quite right. Quite right. Quite right.
No, I'm sorry, my quarantine hair is in my face, but like, they put the time and effort and energy into understanding your live stream and figuring out, okay, if these things are going to happen, there's going to be some weird stuff that's going to happen. And in that event, we are going to be empowered to automatically try to make it right with that customer. And those policies aren't the same. And this is another thing that people look at me like I have a third eye when I talk about it is, these policies that companies have are not customer friendly because they've been created by a group, maybe managers or senior managers, without any feeling or thought what's going to make what does the customer want. And when Uber versus Lyft, in this instance where they treated you quite differently, it speaks to different policies, it speaks to different practices and the brands. So I
right. Right. Hi, Stephen. Thanks for joining the live. So I want us to consider it though in terms of a smaller business to see if our thoughts are the same. So recently I was told of an lash. It's a beauty business. So the contention is whether or not they should be responsible for returns. So if the policy that is written is we are not responsible for damaged or lost goods. No, my reaction is that, okay, well, I would not be purchasing from you then because I am essentially just throwing away my money because you are not going to take accountability for anything after you put it in the mail. So my thought is that, as we said earlier, we have options of where to buy things. And even if you are a smaller enterprise, I still think you need to take some responsibility for execution from start to end and really be there for your customers. So my thought was, even though you're small, you're still competing against the big guys who are selling the same thing. So how are you competitive if you are going to put these barriers between you and your customer? And I think some people, I hope, but they won't even see it because it's fine print. So the customer will accept the policy without reading it. But what are you going to do on the other end of that when the situation actually happens? When you are put on blast, you ruin your reputation. What are you going to do? So
fire. It's too easy now to well, it's not too easy because customers have the power, and I don't have any experience in the retail world. It occurs to me as a customer, so it makes me think about my situation if I were purchasing from them, and if I hadn't read the policy, of course I would be upset too when they would come back and say, well, it's our policy. Insurance, you can purchase insurance and maybe build it into the price or somehow try to work that out to where, if these things happen as they do, at least some kind of peace of mind, and you're competing. It seems like there's something you can focus on that you can do to avoid that situation is what I'm trying to say.
Right. I agree. And I think as a business owner, the onus is on you to see what you can do. And yes, some of these things do increase the price, but then you can promote these things to your customers. You're going to let them know this is what you're getting for the price. So you are bringing value. You are easing the mind. You are making them feel safe and secure with doing business with you. And people will pay for that. I think that's a big part of the experience that people overlook, because when you see the statistics that 86% of customers say they are willing to pay for a better experience. That is included in it. Everybody wants peace of mind right now. That nobody wants to worry about small things. We already have big things to worry about. So taking away those concerns, I think, is a big deal.
I love that perspective. You're so right. Customers have lives, and companies, I think sometimes, and it was like this in government. Government agencies think they're the center of the customer's world, and in a lot of instances, a lot of companies do too. We're the center of that customer's world, but no, you're not the center of that customer's world. So you're there to make their life easier. It's not the other way around. So the policies or practices that you need to put in place need to honor that. So
yes, I agree. I so want to talk to you more about the customer experience from a government perspective because it's hard. I have spoken to a few political figures and persons who work in government in Jamaica about the customer experience, and some of them are interested in working with us to bring about change in their different sectors that they work in. But their thought process right now, I am so interested in how you shift their minds. How do you get them to see and take off the hundreds of years of thought that, we are what's important? How people interact with us is secondary to that. I mean, it's so difficult.
It's very difficult, and there will be different things that sell or resonate with different people. But what it comes down to, for the U.S. government, at least in my experience, is there is a business side to running every government agency that mirrors the for-profit world. And taxpayers and citizens are holding their government accountable for reliable, efficient service. They're paying for it. So on that business side, being able to connect the value of CX practices, whether it's journey mapping or voice of the customer or process improvement, to gaining efficiencies in government, that can be a big selling point, particularly for CFOs who are the ones in charge of whether or not these priorities are going to be funded. But what that comes down to is that business side. Speaking to the business side of that agency that exists just like any other private sector organization that needs to be paid attention to. And if it's not, then you're going to run rampant with fraud, waste, abuse. And these are things that you can just get in trouble with taxpayers, inspectors, government accountability people. So these are relevant things to be paying attention to. Some of the problems that come up is, just like a lot of other organizations, government organizations have so many priorities, and so often all of these priorities come down on them at once, and CX just kind of falls to the bottom because they just get by. And that's, it's the unfortunate part. There are just some things that are part of the deal, but it's a conversation. It's great to, at least for people in our profession that do what we do, to at least have that conversation and sell it like that. Not sell it like that, but have that discussion just to point out that there is a business side here. There are business benefits to thinking about these things and prioritizing them. But there's no one size.
Yes, I agree. And I find too that in that area, a lot of listening isn't happening. So unless people start really behaving badly. But if people go through the regular channels that are there to express their grosses, there doesn't seem to be much urgency to listen to them and change things, because, as you said, things come down on them often, and everything gets shifted to whatever they decide is important at the moment. Brittany is saying, even in the higher education industry, with plans to reopen for the fall, it's important to plan for what students and parents need to feel comfortable. That's true. That's true. And I see that happening. At some institutions right now. But I also realize that a lot of institutions are being a little hush-hush because this is new to them too. They're not sure how to move along. So it's like right now, everybody is waiting on someone to make a move to know how to react. No one wants to really go out.
I love what she says about feeling comfortable. And I think this is something that is kind of a new area of focus that it may be permanent, it may be temporary, but focusing in on exactly what it is that customers are looking for right now, and whether it's higher education. I talked to someone in the travel industry who runs CX for the metropolitan airports here in the DC area. He runs oversight of the VOC for Dulles Airport and Reagan Airport. And he was talking about comfort. When are customers and travelers going to feel comfortable back? That's when they're going to come back. That's when they're going to want to spend money again and be part of, what's happening at the airport. And understanding that and listening for that, just absolutely key. And fortunately, I know it's different between big organizations and small organizations, but for the airports here, they're really trying to listen to the customers as much as they're sending messages about the things that they're doing to try to make customers comfortable. So that comfort, I love that word, because we're hearing it, across sectors right now. What are customers comfortable with? I think, that applies to your hospitality background too, right? When are customers going to feel comfortable back to a restaurant, hotel?
Yes, I have seen in terms of travel. No, I have seen messages from airlines. I have seen messages from a few hotels, travel agents, but I haven't really seen anything from the airport itself or whoever manages the airport. And for me, that is where my discomfort lies, because I'm wondering, okay, based on the information I know about what's happening, I am afraid to physically be inside the airport. What have you done to this airport? I'm not aware of any special cleaning things or distance. I don't know anything that's happening to the airport itself. So I think that is where a huge unknown is, and the other persons in the travel industry who are dependent on the airports need to communicate it if they know, or put pressure on the airport itself to say or do something, because I have to go through this airport to get to you.
Yes. And the whole ecosystem, right? If you Metro, if you Uber, you need to know about that, because there's a whole ecosystem around the travel industry that plays into your comfort levels.
Right. Totally agree. Totally agree. Guys, remember, you can send us your questions. I haven't seen any questions as yet, but I do see your comments, and I realize we have a lot of new persons. I hope I didn't miss anyone that came in, but if I did, welcome to the chat. And we have Stephanie with us. I hope you saw our information that we circulated about her on our pages. I'm really happy she's here with us. We've been hearing some pretty good information and insights from different industries and backgrounds and countries. So if you are late, I encourage you to watch the replay when it's available. Oh, can you pin the topic? Okay, I'll try to pin the topic. The topic was, does experience beat price? Does experience beat price?
And I will send you that meme. I think I've still got it on my phone, because it's one of those, that off you go meme that sort of inspired the conversation. I can send that to you, that you can share.
Yes, please do. Please do. It was good. So I've been seeing this a lot, and I've seen it in a few different studies. But the Walker study is saying, just like the Gartner study, that by the end of this year, the customer experience will overtake price and products as the key brand differentiator. I don't even know if we're going to make it to the end of the year for that to be the case, based on what's happening now.
Yeah.
But I agree. I see it happening, and I see customers really aligning themselves with wanting and being vocal about their experience, which is causing a lot of companies to think about it and to shift. So have you seen that as well?
I've been thinking about this, and again, it comes down to every customer. I think there's no way we can really know that. the world has shifted, and there are a lot of people right now who need price over experience because of job shortages. They just don't have the money to pay for an experience, so price beats that. So I think that if we are a year from now and look back on what was most important, we'll have better data on that. But I think right now it's really hard to say that and to believe that that it's always going to be the case, that it's going to overtake.
I think like right now, based on what's happening right this moment, I think that in order for that to continue to for that projection to remain true, the companies would need to be present and visible to their customers now. Be there with them so that when people bounce back, they still remember you. But I do think that since realities have shifted for a lot of people, we are going to see some shifting all around. We're getting a few comments and questions. Kara is saying, what about some companies that have the experience but over time lose steam and no longer provide the quality they know is required? You can take this one.
Oh, wow. That's, it does, it happens. And I always divert back to what's the leadership saying? What is the buy-in from the leadership to focus on customers? I think chief customer officers for major organizations should be in place. Got to have someone driving the bus. You can say, customer experience is important and we all focus on it, but you've still got to have somebody driving the same direction at the right time. So I think that's a leadership issue that needs to be paid attention to. And I think boards of directors should be holding their presidents and CEOs accountable. These things, I think, in government, I think citizens should be holding the leaders of agencies and their elected officials accountable for efficiency and experiences too.
I agree, and that's why you'll see when we talk about brands we have worked with, we talk about the journey because it doesn't end. You don't do something this month or this year and then you don't do it next year. It doesn't work like that. You have to understand that it's a journey. You will always have to keep doing this, especially since staff changes. You have personal changes. You have all of these things happening. So you have to commit to a continued effort, a continued plan, a continued partnership. Of course, it will take on different forms and at different levels as years go by, but you have to keep it in your toolkit. It has to be present always.
As part of onboarding, your corporate values, your company values, every employee should know what you are expecting of them when they apply for a job. So in your job description, what are your expectations as to how this person is going to be expected to treat customers? And then through onboarding and continuously focusing on that, but it's an everyday thing and it doesn't just magically happen. And it does require that constant walking of the walk and the talking of the talk and setting examples and rewarding appropriate behavior.
I agree. Brittany is asking us, what are your top 3 areas that businesses should address to improve their customer experience?
Oh, that's going to be
top
different.
3.
You want to go
top 3? Sure. I think, to me, a priority is your employees. You have to make your employees a priority. Consider them your first customer. Often, whatever issues your employees are facing is a direct reflection of the issues that your customers are facing. So you have to invest in your employees. You have to train them. You have to have everything in place to make it easy for them to execute the tasks that they need to execute. Value them so you can retain the ones that are good. So your employees, key. I know what matters to them. People are not just motivated by their pay. Know what matters to them. Ask them. After the employees, your processes. Customer experience, just as Stephanie was mentioning before, your customer experience is not just about it doesn't just happen. You have to have a process behind it. You have to think about it. A lot of people from different teams need to come in so we can see exactly what's happening. So there is transparency. So I said your processes. And the third, top three though, I have to mention the leadership. Your leadership has to be on board. They have to say it, they have to live it, they have to breathe it, they have to walk it and ensure that it's coming down in everything. So I'd say those are my top three.
Yeah, those are good ones. Those are really good ones. So take the easy route and say ditto, which would come to, but I'm going to add, so we'll come out with 6.
Yes.
Number 1, metrics and measurements. What are you measuring? When are you measuring it? Do you have a combination of operational data and experience data focused on your customers, the things that are important to customers, not necessarily your sales figures as being, one of your, that's not really a customer experience metric. I know some people like to think that it is, but it isn't. But get your in place, your governance processes and how often you triage those metrics and measurements and all of the qualitative data or some of the qualitative data that might be coming your way through that triage, whether it's a contact center recording or a copy of an email, that comes to mind. And ease. If you've got to fall back on something from perspective, whether it's your employees, your onboarding, your hiring, candidate experience is something that's emerging now in the war for talent. Employees, customers, candidates, ease. How easy is it to apply for a job and go through your process? As a customer, how easy is it to fill out your forms and know where your order is in the queue?
Yes.
As an employee, how easy is it to sign up for your benefits? Fall back on ease. If you don't know and you're not really, you're looking for something quick, that's a quick win, nobody wants to stand in line. Nobody wants to wait for page to load. Think about it. So those would be my 3.
Yes. Good 3. See, 3 is a small number. We have a few comments coming in still. Sigourney is saying, once I get the experience good, I'll return. Cara, just want y'all to discuss that somehow as it really affects customer experience. Oh, I think we spoke about it. Annika is saying, experience comes with a cost to the business and therefore can I don't know what that is supposed to be. Oh, eat into profits. At what point do we sacrifice experience?
Yeah,
it comes.
If you're not paying attention to experience, guess what? You're not going to have any profits because if you are selling and basing the experience on the price, customers are not going to continue to pay a price to have a bad experience, no matter what. So eventually you're going to eat away at all of your profits anyway by not having an easy experience or something to pay attention to where your people are being nice. The customers are going to vote with their dollars. So
that is true. I also think though you have to make intelligent investments. So if you do an analysis and see what's happening in your business, you may not be able, and you identify the current state versus the ideal state, and we chart the way there. We may not be able to do everything right now, but you're working with the customer experience professional. You can select what is essential now and you chart a plan on your journey. So you don't have to, I think you can do stages in your investment once you analyze the complete picture that you are faced with, and just be aware that as you go along, you are going to see the results of this investment. And as Stephanie mentioned before, you will have the metrics in place based on what you are trying to achieve. So you'll be able to see what is happening.
Yeah, and the more I think about this, the more I wonder how much industry matters, because there are some industries where experience will almost always, like I was talking about in the B2B world, where those relationships, that's one area where experience is usually going to be they're not going to make decisions that will require them to have relationships with people who are only selling on price in that particular industry. So I wonder if there's a difference in industry. I don't know, just me.
She's in finance. We have a question from medical. It's Michelle. She's saying, Do people feel the same way when they are trying medical care or procedures? What do you think potential patients want to see when they seek these services? I think that's one of the industries where it matters the most. You are so vulnerable when you are going into the medical setting, and we had two lives that doctors were present, and they did mention, some of the things the doctors face that impede the ability to provide the service that they think their patients should get. But I think it's really something that the medical professionals need to look at, because you are seeing people most times at their most vulnerable and lowest points. You know things about them that they don't want anybody to know about them. So especially in that setting, it's important. And if you notice now on a lot of the websites where you can find doctors, one of the main things people comment on is bedside manner and how the doctor made them feel, and so it's really important. And I think if the doctors aren't looking at that, that's bad. Because we have other I mean, yes, if your situation is really bad, you may not care about the doctor's the experience because you want to live, right? You can have that, but I mean, come on. I think
Yeah, and I think this is one area where the focus has changed over the last 25 years or so, because I spent about 4.5 years working in the healthcare field. But I was doing public relations for a hospital for about 4.5 years. And just thinking back to that time, it was, there were patient satisfaction scores, but there really wasn't as much of a focus on really understanding what the patient's experience was. They were just worried about that number, and now there's a much bigger difference in how, and I'm thinking about hospital, for example. When I was working in healthcare way back when, a customer or a patient, here, would expect things like a toothbrush and a box of Kleenex, for example, at their bedside and in their room, and that seems pretty reasonable. But the attitude back then, and this is 25 years or so ago, we're a hospital, not a hotel. But the thing is, now you will find those things, because we
yes,
understand that if you're going to give the patient an environment where they're going to be able to heal and have a good state of mind so that they're able to take care of themselves, give them those things, and most of the time they build it into the price, but it still has to do with experience.
I agree. All right, we have just about 10 minutes before Instagram is going to take that there live. But we have Anake is asking if we can comment on the need to define your product level or the target client you are focusing on, and how that influences the level of investment in customer experience. I mean, I don't think that influences the level of investment. Whoever whoever your customer is, you would be curtailing everything to fit them. So I think your customer experience is dependent on the type of product and service you are trying to put out there, and what you want your brand image to be. So that's my view on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have anything that I could add on that. I think that it's what are the outcomes you're trying to solve for your customers? What are they looking for? Understanding what they are. And then that talk track internally, if that's what we're talking about, if we're talking about building a budget for CX, that talk track internally needs to be about being focused on the things best for the business, and customers just naturally kind of flow into that.
Yes, yes. And okay, I think we answered this question. You are saying government entities usually have the worst service. How do you get government to pay attention to service? And Stephanie had mentioned about the type of conversations we need to be having. Thank you for the top 6. They're loving the information. Oh my gosh. Great. I don't want us to get cut off. It's 7:52 now. We have just about 5 minutes. Okay. So Stephanie, I want to give you the opportunity to tell us how we can get in touch with you, how we can keep up with you, your Twitter handle, etc. I'm so happy you're here. Discussion is so great.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm here on Instagram, SToomCX. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My Twitter handle is at Stephanie Thum. You can find me there if you want to engage more.
Thanks so much for coming on the live. Thank you everybody for joining the live today. We have so much more in store for you, and hopefully we'll have Stephanie back another time in the future so we can have another great discussion.
Or on government.
Yes, we will focus on government. That's what we're going to have. That's what we're going to do. So we'll schedule it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thanks to all your viewers for the great questions and comments.
Yes. Okay. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye bye.
I've asked you what are some pet peeves of yours, what are some negatives that you see already?
Yeah. Oh, you want to answer it around?
Sure, please.
So one thing I've noticed is probably